out the other day that I have to highlight early is that people with marijuana use were more than twice as likely to go on to abuse opiates and have an opiate use disorder or have an incidence of opiate use. And this was published in the American Journal of Psychiatry. Now, again, the baby boomer generation, a lot of them are gonna laugh at this. We never, we have so many successful people that have used marijuana and they're just fine. I know a lot of people, and no doubt there are a lot of people who are successful that have used marijuana, absolutely. Some geniuses that have had a great life. Just like there are so many people that drive 20 miles over the speed limit that never get into a car crash. Think of it like a speed limit. Most people who drive over the speed limit are fine. Actually, and I hesitate to say this with young people around, but most people who don't wear a seatbelt are actually fine too. It's amazing. But if you don't wear a seatbelt or you speed on a freeway, you're 6 to 7 times more likely to get into a serious car crash. So there will be people who will be just fine and not have these problems. That does not mean that this behavior doesn't increase the risk of problems. And if you're in the addictive industry, which you're in if you're in the marijuana industry in Colorado, you are banking on the fact that people are using your product a lot. You don't care about, I hate to say it again, the age in this room, it is not about all of you. I hate to say it, but it just isn't. It's not about all of you, smoking a joint once a month in your basement and whatever, and that's not what the industry cares about. The alcohol industry could care less if you have a glass of wine with dinner. That doesn't put profits in their pockets. What puts profits in their pockets is this table right over here. This is where the money is. This is where all the money is. It's getting young minds hooked on this love affair. And by the way, if you want to, you could justify that in any way by just typing in Google, is marijuana good or bad? Or, and the industry loves to pay for the Google results. When you Google something, someone's paying for what you see. And so this is about an addictive industry that gets rich off of a small number of people. They don't need you to be addicted. God bless you, most of your brains are developed. You've decided what you like. Have you seen a Coke or McDonald's commercial lately focusing on the over 40 set? No. Coke and McDonald's, they want to hook these guys. It's past for you. I hate to say it, for them. It's the same thing with marijuana. And so we started SAM, Smart Approaches to Marijuana, to try and push back on this. Republicans and Democrats coming together and saying, at the very least, slow this train down. We've had a disastrous tobacco industry, a disastrous pharmaceutical industry, alcohol. Why do this again? And we've partnered with scientists. What's amazing about scientists, and I have a PhD, so I feel like I can say this. There's no PR in PhD. We're not trained to get our science out into language that people can understand. We're trained to speak in science speak. And how many Americans do you think read the Journal of the American Medical Association last night before going to bed? Not that many. But the average person, especially a young person, Googles, is marijuana addictive? And hey, Kevin, one kid said, Wikipedia told me that it wasn't addictive, so how can that be wrong? People verify that, Kevin. Well, let's see who verifies the marijuana page on Wikipedia. You'd be surprised. It's not the editors of Lancet Psychiatry or the Annals of Internal Medicine. And so the science is not being translated out there. And we're trying to do that by working with scientists around the country. Now, you've heard marijuana's on this march. There's nothing you can do to stop it. It's being legal. Support is at an all-time high. How many of you knew that every state that tried to legalize in 2017 failed? How many of you knew that Vermont vetoed in Vermont? In Vermont, that's Bernie Sanders' country, folks. How many of you knew that in Rhode Island, in the north, a lot of these northeastern states, when it goes through the legislature, you have to actually have some reason and arguments that you're accountable to the people in your district. It's a lot harder to pass this. Now, when you have $30 million in a TV ad campaign like you did with Amendment 64, and an opposition that could barely raise $1 million, because we never thought this would actually happen, it's a lot more likely to pass, because you can say whatever you want on those 30-second commercials. And they're brilliant commercials. But when you actually have to talk about it for more than 30 seconds, these issues get tricky, because we start to ask questions. Where are the pot shops going to be? Are you cool with them being in your neighborhood? Well, no, I want them over there. Well, how about you? Are you okay? No. Okay, well, are you good with legalizing marijuana edibles that are attractive to kids? And by the way, I was happy to see that the gummies aren't happening anymore. It took 2 years. And the industry made a lot of money off of them. They're very happy. They're moving on to the next product line. It's swimming upstream constantly when that happens. But when you start to ask these difficult questions, where are the pot shops going to be? What kind of marijuana are you legalizing? Are you legalizing THC 98% waxes? Or are you legalizing, I had a woman the other day say, Kevin, this is just about a roach clip. I had to ask her what a roach clip was, because I'm 30 and I'm not yet at that. Nobody under 40 knows what that is. And then I said, well, what are you doing about dabbing? She had no idea what I was talking about. So there is a huge cultural disconnect. Again, I feel like I'm aging all of us here, but again, no one under 30 knows who Cheech and Chong is. This isn't about like a stoner movie, okay? This isn't about a stoner movie. I mean, I know they might know Tommy Chong because I think he was on Dancing with the Stars or something, but when I talk to high school kids and talk about Cheech and Chong and think I'm gonna get a laugh, boy, am I in for it. Please look at the faces of everybody. Folks, this isn't about that anymore. It's about an industry with guys that look like me. It's guys that look like this. It's the guys I went to Oxford with. They have billion-dollar business plans. I'm speaking to the choir. They have Ivy League degrees. And so I have a feeling that if voters thought it was about this, rather than this false dichotomy that they presented, we'd be in a different environment. They present an idea. They say, Kevin, you can either throw people in prison and have a war on drugs that hurts the weak, or you can legalize marijuana. Which one do you want? Well, there is a big tide against criminalization, against incarceration. That's a winning combination for them. But the reality is, folks, there are so many other things we can do. We're not putting people in prison for marijuana as it is. But there are so many things we can do focusing on prevention, early intervention, awareness. What if we had an ad campaign for marijuana 1/10 of the size of the Truth campaign for tobacco? Imagine the progress, just 1/10 of the size, what that would look like. There are so many things we can do that we're not trying. And instead, we're presented with this false dichotomy. We also are not being told about the advertising and promotion, the coupons, the ads, the sponsorships, the e-cigarettes that are now the new way. My worry is, folks, marijuana is becoming a gateway to tobacco. It's making smoking cool again. And what's amazing is that with these new e-cigarettes and the new technology, of course, you can hide your marijuana use. No one will know you're using it. No one can smell it. And you might be using tobacco, not THC. And I have a feeling, go forward a little bit, that folks didn't really know what this was either when they're voting for this. If you show somebody in public health this who doesn't have a ton of expertise in marijuana, they will 9 times out of 10 tell you that this is heroin, this is black tar, this is brown sticky substance on the end of the needle. That can't be marijuana. So we have been manipulated by this industry. We've been manipulated because they want to make it sound like it's about kids with seizures. We need to treat kids with seizures. I'm the first one to say there are many syndromes that need to be treated. We have 140,000 kids that need seizure treatment, that do not respond to traditional medications. But folks, we have medications going through the FDA for this. Great, I hope we have more. I want to have as many things that can help people. I have family members that have children with these rare neurological disorders. We want to get them any help that we can get them. But legalizing pot sodas, and with THC sodas, let's be clear, is not the way to do it. And they tug on our compassion because we are compassionate people. And what they're really after, folks, is this brain that's under 25, the developing brain, because that is where you're able to shape preferences. That is where you are able to make something really liked by somebody. And that's where you hook a lifetime customer. Look at our legal drugs today. Alcohol, 10% of Americans consume 75% of all alcohol in this country. Who do you think the alcohol industry cares about? The 90%? No. They care about this 10% that consumes. Whenever I see enjoy responsibly on the bottom of an alcohol ad, I laugh, because if everybody enjoyed alcohol responsibly, they wouldn't be making any money. They make money from alcoholics. There's no other way to put it. And it's the same thing, by the way, as with the opiate epidemic. Most people don't abuse OxyContin, folks. Most people don't abuse Vicodin. It sounds controversial, but it's true. The small number of people who abuse it for whatever reason, you can blame doctors, you can blame a lot of things people you can blame. The small number of people who use our prescription opiates are responsible for 90% of the problems and the addiction. And that is exactly the same thing. So why would it be any different? You know, we think that with marijuana, like, you know, this time it's going to be different. This time it's going to be changed. I don't have any evidence to understand why we would think it would be different at all. And so the active ingredient in marijuana, THC, we've just become much better farmers in this country. We are much better at agriculture than we used to be. It's good news for a lot of it, a lot of different crops. Probably bad news for our brains, because we don't know what high THC stuff is doing to our brains. We don't even have that research. There's some research coming out of Colorado I've seen, and Dr. Wangett, great people on the cusp here. Dr. Chris Thurstone, Ken Finn I talked about earlier, Katie Wells looking at pregnant postpartum women. I mean, the public health community is really trying to stand up. It's difficult in this environment with the industry, but they're not looking at policy. They're just looking at our bodies and brains and saying, wait a minute, we don't know what this stuff is doing. THC has been so manipulated in the modern plant, we have genetically bred out things that actually don't get you high anymore, like CBD. The CBD oil that everyone talks about, you can't find that in street marijuana or marijuana that's high in THC. Yes, you can go to different shops here and get different strains, and I guess you're gonna believe them that they would, you know, that they're truthful in their claims. But even if you do, if you want to get high, you're not getting high from CBD. You're getting high from today's high THC. You're seeing kid-friendly products, potency, as I said, increasing, aggressive marketing, contaminants. They said we were going to be able to regulate it so there wouldn't be contaminants in it. Who do you think is smarter? The state bureaucrats that are playing catch-up on the EPA list of non-allowed adulterants and additives and environmental carcinogens, or the industry that has a financial incentive to make the best kind of pot that they can make, no matter what they put in it? And again, there are people in state government in this state, I know that many of them very well, they're trying to do the right thing. They didn't make this happen, they're just the people implementing. I get it. It's not a knock on them. But if we think that we're actually gonna be controlling this, oh, and by the way, at least you got rid of all your drug dealers in Colorado, right? They're all like went to dental school or something. Maybe just been enrolled here at CCU, Jeff. Maybe that could be something. We actually think that they're going to start selling ice cream or something. You're able to outwit the legal regulated industry. And at least you have all this tax revenue, right? School's #1 in the country now. Teachers being overpaid. You have so much money you don't know what to do with, right? I mean, at the very least, does everybody who needs THC marijuana treatment in the state get it for free? Mm-hmm. Why not? You made $300 million, they said. They're touting it. Oh, they are all over the country. They love to talk about you. $1.3 billion in sales, $300 million in tax revenue. Are you able even to take care of your own? How about alcohol treatment? Opiate treatment. You have the second largest opiate addiction in this. Have you been able to pay for treatment for people who have heroin as their primary drug, the fentanyls? What's happening with alcohol treatment? Are you able to pay for that for people? So this magic idea is nothing more than magic, and I am convinced that when people hear the truth and know about it, and when they have to live next to a pot shop and smell that every day when they take their kids to school, it gets old very quickly. I'm telling you, as a visitor, it gets old. Why would I want to stay in the 16th Street Mall anymore? Right. I mean, go to visitdenver.com. I mean, they are admitting, the tourism side is admitting the problems they're having, the convention goers, the feedback they're getting.